So it's a
and other things of that sort. One weekend, Mel asked me to sleep there for a night or two.
I'm gonna like this video before.
The house had like 4 bedrooms, yet she lived alone, so it wasn't an issue.
You just missed a good part.
Well, this takes place over the... One weekend, Mel asked me to sleep there for a night or two. The house had like 4 bedrooms, yet she lived alone, so it wasn't an issue.
Them to live too.
Well, this takes place over the course of a Friday, and technically a Saturday as well. I arrived as per usual on Friday, speaking very few words to Mel. I dropped my backpack full of my clothes and cosmetics onto the bed in the bedroom that I was going to be sleeping in. As I turned to the door, I saw Mel standing by the doorway. She had a creepy way about her, and this entrance was no exception. She didn't say hello, which wasn't as weird as it sounds. She just instructed me to clean the bedroom right away. After that, she just told me to simply straighten up the whole house, and then she went upstairs. I didn't see her for the rest of the day, but I would occasionally hear her walking around upstairs in her bedroom. It was weird, she would seem to walk back and forth. There were no TVs in this house, so I didn't know what she could have been doing. One thing that I found bizarre was how protective she was of her basement. She made it clear it was completely off limits and she didn't want me going down there. Nighttime came and I went to bed early. This was before smartphones were a thing, so I didn't even know what time it was. It was probably 9 or 10 o'clock though. For the first few hours everything was peaceful. However, I still had trouble falling asleep given that it was the most uncomfortable bed I'd ever been in. It felt like hours later that I started hearing footsteps outside my room on the creaky floors. It sounded like Mel was passing my room really slowly. Maybe she was just going to the bathroom. A few minutes later, I heard her footsteps again, but then she stopped outside my door this time. I sat up and listened. I could hear the creaking from behind the door of Mel standing there, and it was starting to creep me out. She finally walked away. I heard her go down the stairs, and then I heard a door open and close from downstairs. I had a feeling it was the basement door. It was a while later that I heard the door open and close again, and then heavy, slow footsteps coming up the creaky stairs. The footsteps once again came to my door, then stopped. I sat up once again to listen, and I could hear creaks of pressure on the floor outside the door. And then I heard the doorknob start to turn. I laid back down and pulled the sheets over me and pretended to be asleep. I heard Mel take a few steps into the room, pause, and then leave. She went back to her room and shut the door. I was a bit disturbed. This was very bizarre behavior. I waited about half an hour before deciding I had to see what was in that basement.
You don't want to see.
I got out of the rickety bed, tiptoed to the door, and then tiptoed down the stairs the best I could. I opened the heavy basement door, flipped on the lights, and crept down the stairs. I made it to the bottom step, and held in the urge to scream. There were 2 old wooden chairs, dead center in the basement, and there were 2 of what I could only describe as decaying corpses with wigs on them sitting in them. The sight of a bug crawling on one of them made me want to puke even more. I brought myself to walk deeper into the basement.
They're not there.
With wigs on them sitting in them. The sight of a bug crawling on one of them made me want to puke even more. I brought myself to walk deeper into the basement, closer to the corpses. I had to make sure they were real. Both of the corpses had men's wigs on them. The bigger of the 2 also had a beret on. I don't know much about corpses or their rate of decaying, but I'd say these corpses were both almost a year old. I felt like my heart stopped momentarily when I heard footsteps coming from upstairs on the first floor. I couldn't make it to the light switch. I had no time. I hid behind one of the couches in the basement as I heard slow, heavy footsteps coming down one creaky stair at a time. I had my hands covering my mouth as I heard Mel reach the last stair. I heard her whisper my name. For half a second, I looked around the couch and saw Mel halfway across the basement already with a big kitchen knife in her hand. I knew she would be too slow to catch me, so I ran for it to the stairs. She screamed my name and followed as fast as she could.
She's an old piece of
with a
shit.
big kitchen knife in her hand. I knew she would be too slow to catch me, so I ran for it to the stairs. She screamed my name and followed as fast as she could. When I made it to the first floor of the house, I ran upstairs to the bedroom I was sleeping in to grab my backpack. By the time I ran back downstairs, Mel was at the top basement step. I ran out the front door and to my car. I turned it on, caught my breath, looked to the front door of the big old house, and saw Mel standing there. I drove off the huge property and down the road, making it back home within 10 minutes. Fortunately, I never gave Mel any of my information, such as my address or my phone number, so she was never able to contact me again. If I had to guess, I'd say one of those corpses belonged to her dead husband that she'd mentioned twice to me. As for the other, smaller corpse, I have no idea. But regardless, it was a disturbing scene to witness.
Okay, I've got to see what the corpses are.
Corpses are like dead bodies, I think. Just the bone. Corpses.
I don't know how to spell corpses, so don't make fun of me. Oh. So that'll be the reaction video.
We need to react for it. Like, talk about the video and how we thought of it.
Ah.
See? So I thought, I'm gonna.
He goes first.
Like, I've watched this video and I thought it was pretty scary.
I mean, the only one that I got creeped out was the third one and the second one. The first one wasn't even that scary. Only with the rifle, that was kind of scary. What was your reaction to it?
The only thing that I thought was cool was the kid was laughing like,
Oh yeah.
it was the sniper rifle. It was kind of funny. Like,
But which one do you think was scary?
If you had to be in one,
this one was the most scariest. Like
if you had to be one in one of these stories, which one would it be in?
The B?
If you had to be in one of these stories, like you would act as one of the characters, which one would it be?
The rifle one.
Mine. So it's the rifle. Which one else? The old lady.
And the little kid. Yeah, the little kid laughing.
Oh, the child.
Child, why?
Because it's just like paranormal.
that would not be.
It's
in
just
the
like
story.
demons. It's not actually a person trying to kill you or something.
Well, that was our reaction to the video.
I would be with
Bye, bitches.
Alright, bye.
I'll be with
What's your outro?
My outro? I don't know. I gotta make a new outro.
Shout out to Pepsi. That's right.
Yeah. Shout out to Coke.
No, shout out to Pepsi.